On this episode of Travels with Bill, we're in Jasper, Alberta, taking a peek at the historic train station, but we'll also look at CN 6015, which is on display in Jasper, and we'll see a real live train running on by. Well, welcome to Jasper. It's a beautiful place, one of Canada's national parks, and visited by quite a few people. Jasper and Banff are both in the Rocky Mountains. Banff is probably the more popular because it's closer to Calgary and a little further south. Jasper's a little more rugged, and I love it. Anytime I get to spend in Jasper is always extra special. The train station has been here for quite a while. It was constructed by the Canadian National Railway in 1926, and in 1992 it was declared a heritage railway station by the federal government. Jasper, as far as trains goes back all the way to 1911. That's when the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway started calling on Jasper. It was originally just a siding. By 1913, both the Grand Trunk and Canadian Northern Railway were showing up in Jasper. In 1923, the Canadian Northern Railway and the Grand Trunk Pacific were taken over by the Canadian government and merged into what's now known as the Canadian National Railway. That continued to use the old station in Jasper until it burned down during the winter of 1924 to 1925. That meant they needed a new station, and this is it. You saw the sign for the Rocky Mountain near there a second ago. It stops at the station too, and certainly it's the premier way to see the Rocky Mountains. Not cheap, but sure is good. We're on the side of the station here, some trees on the side. This is rail side now. We're going to take a peek just at this for a second, and there is a train sitting here. Well, look at that. You can even sit outside and enjoy the patio. That's pretty cool. This train we've actually been following for a few hours as we were making our way through the area. It's hauling brand fresh rail, ready to lay it down. Let's take a peek inside because I think you want to see what's in here too. Now we're visiting on the tail end of COVID, so there's still some masking restrictions, and you'll see some signs for that too, the face mask required thing. That ended after a little while. You can come in here without. Some neat little snacks you can get there, certainly if you're in a hungry kind of mood. And if we go through the hallway here, there's our train again outside, and then into here we get into the main waiting room. There's washrooms in the building as well, so if you're in Jasper and need a little bit of a pit stop, you can always run into the railway station. Maybe not as busy as some of the more public washrooms are in the park. Some candy on the way there, but look at this. It looks like that classic train station look, right? The green seats, the wood there as well. Lots of windows, and just when you peek out the window, you can see the train again. Take a look at this, though. It's beautiful in here. Imagine in 1926 traveling by rail, walking into this when it was brand new. Well, it would certainly impress you. And that was the point of most of these train stations, to impress you and make you think the railway was super important. It was, and it still is. Lots of stuff moves through Jasper on the CN main line on its way to and from the west coast. Little peek at the architecture here. Beautiful beams, nice lights. It's something you need to visit if you happen to be in Jasper, Alberta. We're doing this tour as kind of a driving tour through the day, so we're only in Jasper for a couple hours, although that's not really long enough to see everything, so if you get a chance you should stay a little longer. We've moved just down from the station here to the static train display. This is CN 6015. It's one of the locomotives that was originally made for service in the Rocky Mountains. It's kind of built for this. It's one of quite a few. So 6000 through 6015 were built in 1923 by the Canadian Locomotive Company. They were made for this. They're 482 locomotives. If you don't know how that works, it means there's 4 wheels in the front, 8 big driving wheels, and then 4 more wheels in the back. The tender, of course, is counted separately. They're mountain-type steam locomotives. They can go pretty fast. On flat land, they say up to 100 miles an hour. Of course, you'd never go that speed in the mountains. You'd end up derailing, but the locomotive was capable of it. 6015's little sister, 6001, was actually involved in the Dugald rail accident. That was back in 1947 when it collided with another one, 6046. The only one saved from 6000 to 6015 is 6015, which is on display here in Jasper, Alberta. Unfortunately, all the rest of them were scrapped. The next year they made a bunch more of these. All of those were scrapped as well. So this is the last remaining example of a couple years of locomotive building. Now, we don't know exactly when this one came out of service. That's lost to history. But we do know in 1958 it was already sitting on a storage track, having been removed from service. It ended up being donated to a railway museum. They eventually put it on long-term loan to the town of Jasper, and here it is for us to see today. I did promise you a real live train. This is the one we saw earlier, just starting to head out of Jasper now. Is carrying continuous welded rail headed to the west. Think about when they built CN 6015, they certainly wouldn't have even been dreaming of this. Diesel locomotives that pulled so much easier, didn't need coal, didn't need a bunch of water to do it, and even the continuous welded rail, how well that works now too. Trains carrying huge big long strips of steel that's then installed without all of the bolts and all of the gangs that used to be required. Railroading has certainly come a long way from the beginning, but it's still important to Jasper and throughout the entire Rocky Mountains. Hope you've enjoyed your time at the Jasper Train Station. We've got a few other Jasper videos for you to check out as well. Make sure you subscribe to Travels with Bill, and we'll see you on the next episode.